Welcome to the video, ladies and gentlemen. We're in beautiful Virginia, and we came out here to go to Mr. Tai Lopez's farm. For all those who don't know, Tai Lopez has been a longtime client of mine. We go on and off with specific projects over the years, taught in a few of his info programs, and I also consider Tai a mentor of mine. He's brought a tremendous amount of clarity to my life, and I want to hand down some of the top lessons that I've had the opportunity to intimately learn over the years from this guy. There's been some lessons that have verbally been taught to me and some lessons that I've just observed that I'm going to make sure to hand down to you inside of this video today. Of course, everything that we talk about on the channel is always centric to going big and hitting $1 million months. I won't sit here and in any way, shape, or form talk about Tai's revenue numbers, but they are far greater than what we normally talk about here on this channel. So the lessons that he consistently provides are so substantial and extreme. All of us here on this channel will get a lot of value from this type of video. So thank you for being here with me. It's a true pleasure. I just want to disclose, there's a high probability I'm going to get lit up by some bugs while I sit here. I mean, my cameraman behind the scenes is already throwing some of these around, okay? One of the very first lessons that I always love to refer to when we talk about lessons from Tai that I've learned over the years, I really relate to advertising more than anything else initially. When it was, I think it was like early 2017, Tai was promoting his SMMA program, which, by the way, total side note of a lesson, he owns the trademark to SMMA. And there's arguably thousands of people that abuse that trademark and try to sell things that have SMMA in the name. And he could sue anybody and everybody at any time, but he's cool enough not to. I thought that was a cool side note, but trademarking your IP is like a total side tangent of a lesson. Not really one I want to focus on, but something to consider nonetheless. Anyway, back when he was promoting the SMMA heavily in like this 2017 time frame, first of all, the guy had over 400,000 students through that one program, okay? The scale and magnitude, you'd be lucky if most of you sold to 400,000 people within your lifetime, let alone within 1 year of a specific offer that you've got, okay? Now, just to be clear, the guy cleared fucking buku bucks off this offer and was obviously promoting it a tremendous amount, so therefore he was filming ads for it a lot. And one of the first things that I think was like a profound lesson I wanted to hand down to you from this guy is how he uses the things within his environment to articulate that he is for and talking to a specific audience. We talk about messaging quite frequently on this channel and the power of it. In a world where advertising channels are no longer taking your targeting with strict consideration and more so are considering it a suggestion, and almost all targeting nowadays, besides warm audiences and retargeting audiences, is broad. What appeals to the right people and what controls your message getting in front of the right and qualified people consistently is messaging. And messaging, for a lot of argument by most marketers, is like the verbal things that you say and the things that you write down. But Tai taught me messaging is also environmental, okay? And this is a key lesson. It's with the stuff and the environment. Okay, so messaging is not just words, written or spoken. It's environment and the stuff within the environment. And this is very interesting. I'll give you a great example, right? It's like, I'm at Tai's farm right now, okay? What would you expect from me being at a farm in Virginia? This farm's like a couple hundred acres. It's insane. We were rolling around on a gator all day, and we were whacking down thistle weeds and driving through wheat fields, or I should say near wheat fields for all my farm boys. We weren't driving over the wheat. We were driving near the wheat, okay? I'm a city boy, give me some slack. We had looked at oats and gone and visited horses and checked on some of the cows and looked at the property as a whole. It was something, to be clear, that is used as almost like a prop, right? It's like, think about it, right? Imagine I'm talking about being at the farm and I'm not sitting on a 4x4 pickup truck with the beautiful Virginia mountainscape in the background. It's like, what does this appeal to? Okay, even think about my tonality in this video and the volume in which I'm speaking at, okay? There's so many little cues that people pick up on that are judged far more than just the written and spoken word of man, okay? So what Tai would do back when he was promoting this SMMA, like at the time there was a very viral style of content that was going around. It was where people with exotic cars would load up a pressure washer with a little soap bottle on the bottom and just spray their cars. And that style of video was going super viral and it was getting a lot of organic views. He had at the time like 5 different supercars, and they ranged from like Lambos to Ferraris, and like the supercars of that day and age were like Aventadors and 458s, and I think the 488 might have just came out at that time. Anyway, he had that and like the original Gallardo and I think a Maserati and something else, and he would shoot some ads doing that same piece of viral content, which would be him shooting a pressure washer with soap and stuff at the cars and just lathering them up. And to the basic eye, right, the untrained eye might just look at that and say, oh, Ty's just trying to replicate organic content viral trends in order to reduce his reach, which, to be clear, I'm sure he was too. Tai takes a ton of multi-purposed actions, arguably one of the smarter and most efficient people that I think I know and get close-up exposure to. But I digress. The real, root, strong, intended reason that he was doing that was because the target demographic for that offer, which at that time you could argue was 18 to 30-year-olds, male, female, but mainly male. Those are the people that in that age bracket are most probable to pick a new career, or in this case, a new business opportunity. Most people who are in later stages of life, loss aversion eats away at your probability of wanting to change careers, even if you know you're not in the right path. You just don't have a lot of desire to change after a certain age. You're too far into it. You think too much about the potential and the upside that you might be able to actualize on. So anyway, 18 to 30-year-olds, right? Well, what appeals to them to most, right? What are they looking at the most? What are they consuming the most? What can he use as a prop within the environment? And what environment should he be in to, without even having to say stuff, let people know in an immediate snap-second judgment, I'm for you. You understand? That's where a lot of congruency and relatability occurs, is in stuff and messaging. Okay, there's so many people. Think about this real quick with me. Think about the amount of content creators you've seen. They rarely have a fuckload of views, but some of them get some decent viewership. They're sitting in the same studio-like environment every time. And it's, got some classic YouTube lighting, maybe a shelf with some stuff on it and some random light up stuff and props in that back area. It's the same thing every time. Nobody strategically thinks with what is and what is not relatable. Good example of this, I recently published a video where I was talking with my ClickFunnels $10 million plaque and the ClickFunnels $10 million ring, the ring that says 8 figures on it. It's even that video, right? And the stuff within that video and my $1 million a month trophy that I showed within that video for one of our newest $1 million a month earners, Jordan and Jacob, they all signal things without me having to say anything that will attract new viewers solely because they know what those things mean and what they are. There's also people out there that'll be turned off by those things because they think to themselves, think about this demographic. There's all kinds of people who hate course sellers. There's all kinds of people who think Tai Lopez is a scam. But it's dude, the guy has helped so many people. I have a great video on my channel. It's about propaganda, and I talk about this spectrum where I say, look, at all times, you're gonna have people who are tremendously sold on whatever you're talking about. These as an example, if you look at politics is a good version of this that's from the outside in, gives a great example of this. There's always people who are gonna vote one way, and there's always people who are gonna vote another way. There's always people who like burgers, there's always people who hate burgers. There's always people who love being a vegan, there's always people who hate being a vegan. There's always people who love steak, there's always people that hate steak. You see what I mean? There's always people who are sold one way or the other. There's always people who think course sellers are a scammer. There's always people who think course sellers are amazing and a necessity for the world. But more importantly, there's this demographic in the middle. And the demographic in the middle is the unsold demographic. These are the people who aren't necessarily swaying aggressively one way or the other. They might be leaning one way or the other. Yeah, I'll have a burger here and there, but I don't love them. Yeah, I'll have a hot dog here and there, but I don't love them. Yeah, I've occasionally voted blue, I've occasionally voted red. Yeah, I was a vegan for a couple months, now I'm carnivore. It's they swing in life. And a lot of these people, these swing votes, these are the people that are the unsold buyers. Okay, these are the people that have the most influence to scale, okay? And this is one of my favorite things about Tai. Tai knows one of the most valuable lessons, which is when you scale to the level that he has scaled to in awareness, right? The quantity of people that are aware of who he is and intimate details about his life, which we'll talk about here shortly and how he accomplishes that. This comes with a tremendous amount of hate. This comes with a tremendous amount of people who have strong opinions, very strong opinions on just, again, biases that are already pre-established, regardless of who you are and how many people you helped and how awesome you are. They're just naturally gonna hate everything that you do because that's their bias. And there's people who just have firm opinions on anything, and anything that fits into those opinions, they're gonna hold strong on them. It's part of their identities. But there's that unsold middle part of the demographic, which I think one of the greatest lessons of Tai Lopez is his ability to communicate to that middle demographic so effectively, okay, and so well, enables him to reach a level of scale that most people don't. Let's face it, a majority of you sitting here watching this, you've probably done really well organically, or you've done really well with your warm audiences. And maybe a few of you watching this, yeah, you've big dogged it and you've started to convert cold traffic, needs convinced demographics, just mass market audiences. But there's such a small quantity of people ever that actually crack cold paid advertising at scale. And it comes from this failure to be able to effectively convert this middle demographic here, this unsold, like I'm willing to sway one way or the other. Anybody and everybody sitting here watching this that wants to go big and hit $1 million months and just make a fuckload of money and help a bunch of people in life, selling to the in-market demographic, this is like business on easy mode, right? The hardest part is just nutting up and being willing to risk some dollars to reach them in the first place and being able to spend enough to dial in your messaging to communicate to them effectively. Every fucking big dog out there, but in this case especially Tai Lopez, has done such a legendary job at being able to effectively adapt messaging, right? It's adaptive messaging that appeals to not just in market, not even just needs convinced, but mass market, and be able to bring these people into the game. In this exact area that I'm in, there was an officer who pulled my videographer and I behind the scenes here. He pulled us over in like 5 minutes of us taking off on some ATVs I bought to ride around this area. I thought I was gonna be free and clear to rip around on some ATVs, and I was very wrong. This is, as you may be able to hear, an extremely quiet area. I am likely heard by, a mile worth of neighbors nearby right now. And I'm talking relatively quiet. You can imagine what ATVs would do to this community. So anyway, we get pulled over and we talked to this officer. His name's Officer Wagner. Shout out to him if he's ever watching this. He was super cool for a good hour, shooting the shit about bears and, all kinds of stuff. And we get to one point in the conversation where we were like, yeah, we're here to go to Mr. Tai Lopez's farm. And we were like, yeah, it's that guy who did the ad that said, here in my garage. And you know how he knew Tai? This is a police officer who was retired. He'd worked for a different police force for 30 plus years, earned his pension and his retirement. And now he works in this very small resort village that we're talking to you from right now. And he is aware of Tai through Tai's mentor, Joel Salatin. Joel Salatin in this area is known as the ludicrous farmer. And everybody who follows Tai and knows Tai, like you, at a very high probability and a very high rate, are aware of who Joel Salatin is. And you're probably aware of who Joel Salatin is in relationship to Tai. And if you're not, watch how crazy this is, because I'm aware of it. Joel was one of Tai's first mentors, if not literally his first mentor ever. And Joel's a farmer, a very well-established farmer. Joel got sued by the USDA and he won that lawsuit, and he got a great reputation in the farming community. Same exact spectrum. There's a lot of people who hate him, a lot of people who love him, and a lot of people who are unsold, maybe just like you, forming your initial opinions right now. But that officer knew Tai. That's how far, really think about that. That's how fucking far Tai's messages reach. Now, that guy ever bought something from Tai? No. But to really consider how many dollars it takes and how much network effect and scale you have to reach rural, very rural Virginia retired police officers. Think about the age of that, okay? Think about location, right? It's easy to reach people in all the major cities. It's easy to reach people in all the major countries. It takes a lot of dollars to reach that scale. I'm not gonna sit here and air out Tai Lopez's revenue or his ad spend or anything like that, but just know, okay, that's extreme in terms of the dollars it takes. And my old boss, he used to tell me, half the country has to hate you to be the president, okay? That's how it goes. A lot of people can't deal with the hate that comes at scale. Tai will firsthand debate haters. When you talk about propaganda and like you tie the lessons in which I'm communicating to you to a lot of these propaganda lessons that you'll find on my channel, one thing holds so true when you look at Tai. He fully understands that every little thing that comes out about you, good and bad, can be leveraged to, and I literally mean leveraged, like used to get a far greater output than just that thing being there on its own. You can take something and leverage it, multiply the reach of it, okay? And spin it a particular way. So like as an example, I remember a period of time, like probably right around that window in 2017, 2018, Tai was getting, as you can imagine, hundreds of thousands of people out of hundreds of millions of people that were aware of him that just didn't like the guy. And so what he would do is he would debate haters. He would feed content to the unsold demographic, because that's what happens to the unsold demographic. They become aware of something and they either remain unopinionated or they swing one direction or the other on the spectrum. And sometimes a few pieces of content swing them one way or the other, or sometimes a powerful thing immediately swings them one way or the other. The ineffective, non-powerful things leave them in an unopinionated place. Or if they don't identify as needing opinion about it, then again, it leaves them in an unopinionated place. Tai is very effective at generating opinions, which creates mind share, okay? The biggest people, and this is such an undermined tactic because most of you never reach this point where like you actually have to give a fuck about this, because this is like such a scaled lesson, is this word that only the big dogs I've worked with use. And they call it mind share, which is how much of your day-to-day thought or your week-to-week thought or your month-to-month thought goes towards that person or that business. Okay, another great example of this, like the Kardashians. Like Tai studies the Kardashians religiously, okay? Because they have such a large percentage of mind share at a mass scale, okay? Now here's what's important to understand. The more people that you have mind share with, the more buyers that you have, and the easier it is to hit far greater revenue numbers. Think about this. The less mind share you have, obviously the less attention you have, and therefore the less people are going to be willing to transact with your business. We all know that business is a numbers game. Sales is a numbers game. The higher the quantity of people that we want to have buy from us, the higher the quantity of people need to be aware of us, okay? We don't want to just make the right people aware of us. That's a very common mistake that people have when they're operating at scale, okay? Because people with opinions talk about their opinion when there's an opportunity to do so. Nobody generally likes to sit in silence. People like to talk about things. And like I just brought up with Officer Wagner, how do we even get to the point in conversation where we talk about Tai Lopez? Humans just try to seek common ground, and they share things with one another. And through opinion, there were several things that the guy brought up. Brought up Trump, checked if we were liberals, you know, had a good time yapping about that for a bit, talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. But like I said, like, how do you get to Tai Lopez? It's like humans just share things. So the people who are non-buyers, like, they still talk about stuff that lead people who are on the right side of the spectrum or the unsold side of the spectrum, who can get knocked into the sold side of the spectrum through data and key opinions, okay, key content. That creates more buyers. That's network effect at scale. So mind share, it's like, it is so powerful to consider how much mind share, right, you truly have. It changes how you operate. It changes how you do things. It changes how you think about content. It changes how you think about scale. It changes how you spend money. Like, one thing I always get from extremely small, like super fucking novice advertisers who have only done basic direct response advertising in their life, when I start talking about content ad strategies and the effectiveness of increasing the probability of people buying by targeting them with content that you pay to distribute, one of the first things I get is from these little fucking dumbasses.
Oh, it's not an ROI-driven action. There's no way to track if it attributes revenue.
It's like, well, yeah, I mean, no shit, you know, no shit. There's no statistic you're gonna be able to point your finger at and be like, oh, look, I spent money on this content and it created this mindset for this person. But when you spend money on content, you distribute content, and you have so much reach on content, you know undoubtedly how much impact it has in an extremely positive way, or in some instances, unfortunately, extremely negative ways, on creating additional buyers, on converting more people than you otherwise ever would without it. Okay, and this is what's important to understand. Like, even some D2C brands that are in the e-com space, like, think about what Shark Tank does for people. It's like, that's just content. And it's not just content about the product, it's content about the business owner and the backstory, and this other key concept called character development. Okay, which is the last point I'm going to leave you with here today. Character development is so effective at getting people to develop trust with you at scale without knowing who you are in real life, and dramatically increasing the probability of purchase. For Tai is a great example of this. Like, you know, rest in peace to this guy. He had Zach, which was this very funny guy. It was Tai's lawyer. And, you know, unfortunately this guy passed away, to be clear, but Zach was a great character as an example of this. Tai has all kinds of people in his life, from family members. Like, people know Tai's mom, people knew Tai's grandma, okay? People know where Tai lives. Like, people know that he's got places in Europe, and places in Miami, and like a place in New York, and a farm, and a place in LA, and specifically Beverly Hills. It's like, you might not know all of them, but like, you probably know a few of those places. And the more and more you become aware of Tai, the more and more of this character development you get targeted by. You start to know that the guy's like an encyclopedia for fucking information. Like, it's like, he was just at his farm earlier. He's teaching us about how horses don't look up because they never have a need to look up. We were standing above them in a barn throwing some hay down their way, and they were like, yeah, look, they'll never even look up at us because they've never had the evolutionary need to look up in their life. You know, it's like, he just throws out the most random facts at you. He documents this in content and then distributes that type of content too. Why? Like, why does a guy at that scale who makes aggressive large sums of money, why does he take the time to focus on character development? Out of all things, character development is what makes people feel like they actually know you. And when people feel like they know you, that is where a scaled level of trust comes from. If you want to convert a large quantity of people in business, okay? And you wanna make serious fucking money. Character development, and this also goes for products, like high ticket products and services in general. They have the people who are a part of that business. They have how the products got created, why the products got, there's so many stories and individual characters that are a part of those stories. And every character, just like you've seen on any TV show or movie, gets introduced to you with like backstories and reasons why they are the way they are and why they behave the way they do, why they do what they do, why they're doing what they're doing now. It's like, it's all character development. And the most advanced personal brands that we've worked with, because they have to do it the most, they get the opportunity to do it the most. But we've had some serious fucking high ticket product and service businesses that haven't been personal brand driven, that still leverage this same exact logic of character development. And they get phenomenal results, especially at scale, okay? When you're launching something, this is still beneficial to do because it helps create familiarity and trust. It helps get the person to a point where psychologically, just like you would in real life, you trust a person enough to actually do a deal with them. You trust a person enough to do business with them. Why would that be any different on the internet? Why would our brain interpret the internet as different, right? Anybody who thinks that there's any kind of change between how our brain can interpret those same things that we would in real life and not apply them to how things work on the internet. That's silly. That's silly to not make that bridge and that connection. It's clear as day. Tai made that connection because he's really smart and he executed on it at scale and still consistently does. Go check out some of his pages as a great example of this. And don't just look for the content that's like something very specific that he's teaching or something with a call to action to go buy something or do something or opt into something. Look for the content that just is like Tai out there on the farm checking on his oats that he's going to feed his horses later, you know, or Tai, maybe I think he's introducing some content with his family nowadays, you know, beyond his grandmother, his mother, you know. Perfect example of this, like I just go and I meet Tai's mom, very sweet lady. I'd seen her in so much content. I've already learned like so many little intimate things about this woman who I've never met. It felt like as soon as I sat down, there was no barrier to meeting her and getting to know her. It already felt like I knew her. You know, she didn't have anything to sell me, but if she did, it'd be a much higher probability I'd buy it because that familiarity bias is already there. These types of scaled lessons, they're totally normal to me. These are things that we've been exposed to for a decade plus, because that's the level that we've been operating at. And you likely lack this kind of perspective in your life, and that's likely why you stay so small. You compare yourself down, and you rarely want to compare yourself up. It creates an insecurity, and when you don't know the things, when you do compare up intimately, to actually address like what you're doing now compared to what the people who are way bigger than you are actually doing. Not the things that you just interpret they're doing, but like what they're actually doing. When you don't have the inside scoop, like you lose a tremendous amount of leverage in that studying you're attempting to do when you do look up, if you ever do look up. Don't be like a horse and never look up. It's super important to do so. But anyway, my point is, with what happens inside of programs like my Inner Circle offer, which there's links for down in the description, this is all we talk about. We talk about going big and the lessons of going big and the lessons of getting big and every single thing that's along the way that gets you from that level you're at now, assuming you're even qualified to be in there in the first place, and taking it to the next fucking level. That's the whole point of this channel. Like, I'm tired of listening to these fucking small fries out here that are teaching people how to make like 10K a month or like 100K a month. It's like, that's fucking baby money, you know, and you know it. And that's why you're here learning about $1 million months, because that's what fucking matters. Money, scaled amounts of money, matter a lot to the quality of your life and what you can do in the world and the impact you can make. And there's something inside you, obviously, that knows that. And it's very important you act on these kinds of things when you get the opportunity to do so, because look, I don't know about you, right? I haven't found any free opportunities. Even this opportunity to get exposure to Tai, you know, and you learn these intimate things up close. Hear them, see them, watch them. This comes from a business transaction. You see, this is important to understand. It's like, when you're trying to go big, it's like, you're not just gonna get around people. You might have a friend or two, right, that you get some exposure to who's richer than you, but they're not paid to teach you the fucking ins and outs of what's going on and what's working and what they're really doing to fucking grind up and make a fuckload more cash and get to the point where they become that responsible gambler that turns money into a fuckload more money after they check the boxes that get them there to that state. What you have to do, and you'll learn this eventually, is like, you gotta be a part of groups, and you generally pay to be a part of these groups that actually show you and are paid to give a fuck about your progress and you actually understanding it. That's what most people don't get. Like, you pay to be a part of a mastermind to get exposure to things. Like, I have guys that join into the group. It's a guy who just crossed 3.4 mil last month. He was at 500K in January. A few months into the year, he fucking skyrocketed. This guy's been asking questions for years in the group. Like you get to intimately see just like where the guy's focus is. It's like, when have you ever joined a mastermind and even thought of that as an example of a value add? You know, just observing people who are fucking sweeping you in revenue and what kind of things they're focused on, what kind of assets they're consuming above all else, you know, and getting the opportunity to even have a chance to ask these people questions. That's what's cool too, you know? You just get around the money and it dwarfs what you're doing, and it makes everything that you're doing in terms of goals and progress feel so much more realistic and doable. All I tell people when they consider joining into things like my Inner Circle program, it's as simple as this. You're paying for speed, right? You're paying for speed. You're likely going to accomplish these things. There's a very small chance. You know, there's 0.1% of businesses that ever achieve 10 mil a year. It's according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. 0.1%. Think about how few people beyond that reach $1 million a month. Right? Like your chances are already low. Why not at least get some exposure that might increase those odds a fucking teeny tiny bit, right? Like what's that worth? Anyway, for the people who get it, the link's down in the description. And at the very least, check out the link to get week 1 of my 7-week master internet marketing class at no cost. So you can get some perspective of what one of my paid programs, one of my flagship paid programs is like. And go check out all the other videos you've missed between the last one you watched and now. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. It's a pleasure to have you. Consider subscribing. And of course, if you've already been here, you've already done that, press that subscribe button. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I look forward to helping you more in your journey of getting richer. Talk soon.